Illustrator gives you a special tool to fit type to a path. And I want to show you how we can fit type first to an open path and then to a closed path. Right now I have just a plain blank artboard open and the color model doesn't really matter. So let's zoom in so we can see what we're doing. However you want to zoom in is fine. And we'll start by just putting a path down on the page. I'm going to go and get the pen tool. And before I start drawing, I can see here that I have a white solid fill. So I want to get rid of that. I'll just click the slash. So I have a stroke. Doesn't matter really what color the stroke is. It doesn't matter how thick it is because it's going to disappear as soon as you fit the text to the path anyway. So let's just start maybe something like this. I'll draw up here and then maybe I'll go here. I want to get a nice smooth swish. Let's maybe drag this out here a little bit. And we'll go and adjust this anyway, so it doesn't really matter. You don't have to do exactly like what I've done. Now let me go and get the Type on a Path tool. So there's a regular type tool. I'm going to click and hold so I get the flyout, and I have Type on a Path tool. By the way, you notice that there's actually two of them. There's this one here, and there's this one here, vertical Type on a Path. That's really for text that goes down in a column. Think of like Chinese or Japanese or something like that. So I'm just going to do the regular one here. And all I have to do is I put the mouse pointer on the curve and I just click. And when I do, you see I've got this flashing cursor there. And all I have to do now is type. And whatever you want to type is fine. And we could go and edit this like it's any old type. I'll select it, press Command A or Control A in Windows to select all. And over here I'll go and choose whatever font I want. Whatever font you want to use is fine. This is cool, and maybe I'll make it a little bigger. There we go. And we can also give it a color just like any regular type. Go, and I'll deselect it. Okay. Now you can still see the path because we're in the process of editing the text. But do this. Go and get the direct selection tool and click off on the blank empty page, and now you see that disappears. But it's still there, we can still modify it. One way is, if you just sort of roll your mouse pointer over it, it reappears, and now you can click, and now you can edit it just like you edit any curve using the Bezier handles. You could also do this in outline view. So you can either press the shortcut or you could go up to the view menu and go into outline view, and now you see it. Of course, the formatting of the text isn't there, but now you can see the curve even if you don't have it selected. I'll go back to preview. So I want to push the text along on the path. Let's go and click it. When you click the text, you see these little vertical bars here. If you put your mouse pointer on there and you see the mouse pointer changes a little bit, you get this little arrow thingy, and now you can drag the text along on the path. And I give you warning, these little bars are maddening to work with. So right now I have it working fine, but it's very easy for you to click it, and what will happen to me sometimes is when I adjust it, or especially if I adjust the one on the other side, all of a sudden I'll truncate the text and I'll get maybe just a few characters showing in the overflow symbol. If that happens, don't worry, you could always undo and then grab it again. Now there are various options that you can take when using the Type on a Path tool, but I want to show you those options when we fit type to a closed path. So what I want to do is let's just kind of drag this down out of the way. If you want to delete it, go ahead. I'm done with it. Let's go and draw a path. I'm just going to draw a circle. Let's say you wanted to create maybe a logo, or think of maybe a campaign button or something like that. I'm going to go and click and hold on the rectangle tool so I get the ellipse tool. And I want to draw a circle from the center out. So I'll put my mouse pointer somewhere over here, and I'm going to hold down the Option and Shift keys. If you're on Windows, you hold down the Alt and Shift keys so we can create a circle from the center point outwards. And maybe something like that. Now I don't want to fill, so I'm going to click the slash button there. And don't worry about stroke because just like with the open path, we aren't going to see the stroke very long. Now, before I get the Type on a Path tool and click and start typing, something you should know is that you can have only one piece of text fit to a path at once. So what I want to do is I want to have some text on the top of the circle and some other text down on the bottom of the circle. The problem is, as soon as I have text on the top of the circle, I cannot have a second independent text object down on the bottom of the circle. Now, there's two ways you can deal with this. One way is you can take the circle, make a duplicate, put the duplicate right on top of it, and then deal with two independent circles and two independent text objects, maybe using the layers panel so you have one on top of the other and locking them. And that's fine, but that's kind of tedious. What I prefer to do is just cut the circle in half. So let's go and use the scissors tool for that. So leave it selected, leave the circle selected, and click and hold on the eraser tool, and let's get the scissors tool. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click first on this anchor, and I'm going to go and click on that anchor. Now it looks like the top of the circle has disappeared. I'm going to go into Outline View. I'll press Command Y or Control Y in Windows, and you can see it. I'll press the same key again to get back. Now, before I said I was going to show you how to fit text to a closed path, so this is kind of cheating. I took a closed path and then I turned it open. I made it open. But this is still there. See, if you roll your mouse over it, you'll still see it. So now let's go and get the Type on a Path tool and come back, and when you bring your mouse pointer near it, then you can click again. And I'll click and I'll just type some text. Okay, and now I can adjust this like I adjusted the text down on that path there. I'll go and get the regular direct selection tool, and again, here's this bar, and I'll drag it kind of into place there. And again, I can apply a type. I'll go and get the text tool back, click it, I'll just select all, Command A or Control A in Windows, and let's just choose a different font. Again, whichever font you want to use is fine. I'll take this one and I think I'll give it a color. I'll make it a blue of some sort. And now because the font and the size has changed, I have to go back to the direct selection tool, grab this bar, and start dragging it again. Okay, there we go. Drag it a little bit more. Okay, now let's deal with the one here on the bottom. So I'll go back to the same tool. Now, you might think, okay, I want the next piece of text to go along down this way, but for some strange reason, you really want to click on the right side, not on the left side. And you'll see why in a moment. Now let's type in the rest of this phrase or the next line of the poem. Now you see why, because the text just tends to flip. But this is where we can see some of the options here of the Type on a Path tool. Double click it, and now you have the Type on a Path options. And here we have different effects that we can choose. Let's turn on Preview so we can see what we're doing, and then turn on Flip, so at least now we can read the text right side up. Now, by default, what you have, the effect you have is called Rainbow, and that's, well, kind of standard, I guess. If you choose Skew, it kind of, well, skews it a little bit, kind of gives it maybe a bit of perspective. 3D Ribbon, it's more like 2.5D because the letters will never have thickness, but it's kind of trying to put it into 3D space, I suppose. Stair Step is simply going to put one letter on top of another. And then Gravity is going to pull all the letters towards the same point. So I'm going to leave this with Rainbow, but I want you to see what those were. Now, we also have a choice of how we want the path to be aligned, or where we want the path to be aligned. Right now it's on the baseline, and you can choose to have it centered. You can have the descender, right? So that way if you have, let's say, the bottom of a letter G or a letter J, that would be on the baseline. Or you can have the ascender. Now I'm going to stick for a moment with ascender because I want the text to be on the outside of the circle the same way that this text is on the outside of the circle. But what I really want is I want the top of the lowercase letters, what's called the X height, to be on the circle. And we'll deal with that in a slightly different way. That's not spacing. Spacing is like tracking. If you adjust this, you can change the spacing between the letters. I'm going to leave that as 0 because I think that's fine. So let me OK that. I'm going to go back to the direct selection tool. Let me grab this vertical bar here, and I'll move it. And this is what I said, is this thing could be maddening to deal with. Sometimes you need to drag one, sometimes you need to drag the other. Let me apply the color. Apply the same color that I applied to the text on top. And now what I want to do is I want to move this text up slightly. So once again, I'll get the Type in a Path tool. I'll click here. I'll select all the text. Press Command A or Control A in Windows. And what I want to do is I want to adjust the space off the baseline. So leaving it selected, I'll go up here and click Character. So I have the Character panel come up. And that's what this thing is here, Baseline Shift. And I'm going to tap the up arrow a few times until the tops of the lowercase letters are resting on the circle. And now I could just click off and dismiss it. And now if I want, I can still adjust it. And if I drag the thing around the circle one way or the other, the text still is attached to the bottom of the circle. Okay, let me click off it so we can see it. Now, if we were to go and export this, use this somewhere, or print it out, we would see this. So yes, the text is curved, but it's not really obvious that it's on a circle of some sort. So I said before, what if you want to take this text maybe and put it on a campaign button or something like that? Let's go back and get the ellipse tool. What I want to do is I want to create another circle that's just slightly bigger than this but matched. How are we going to do it? This is what the smart guides are all about. I don't really have to guess. I don't have to go and drag ruler guides in. I know right now that my mouse pointer is at the center of the original circle. So I'm going to click the mouse and start dragging, but I'm going to hold down, I don't want an egg shape or anything. I'm going to hold down the Option and Shift keys, or the Alt and Shift keys in Windows. And I'm going to make this circle a little bigger, kind of like that. Now it covers that text because you see we have the solid fill color, and also because I drew it last, it's on top of everything else. So let me go and get the regular selection tool. I'm going to go over here to the swatches panel. You could use this built-in gradient. You see it has some transparency. You can use that. You might want to use this one here, maybe this one here. But the problem is that it's still on top. So what I want to do is I want to use the stacking order. So I can right-click and arrange and send to back. I can use the shortcut, or maybe I'll go and use the layers panel, open up the layers panel, twirl this open, and you can see there's that path, and I'm going to take this and drag it down below. So that's just another way to do it. I'll go here into the gradients panel, and I want this to be a radial gradient, and click off it. I want my text really just to be plain white. It's going to be much more legible. There we go. So that's how you can put type on a path, and it's all live and completely editable. You can change it until you get what you like.